everybody, and welcome to another episode of Comic Conversation. This episode is going to be sort of a giant-sized episode because we're going to be reviewing 4 books as opposed to our usual 2. Like Bill Cosby, we're going to be touching base on a couple books that we've spoken about in the recent past, but we're also going to talk about 2 brand new storylines that we haven't talked about yet on this show. So, without further ado, first up, we have Superior Iron Man, number 1. Wait a second, I'm not found. Superior Iron Man, number 1. Okay, so this is sort of building off the steam of the wildly popular Superior Spider-Man series, only this time we have a Superior Iron Man. Now, unlike the Superior Spider-Man series where Doc Ock had taken over Peter Parker's brain and body and become Spider-Man himself, Superior Iron Man is actually Tony Stark. He's sort of gone a little nuts recently based upon the events that happened over in the Axis series where all the heroes have started to act like villains and the villains have started to act like heroes. But Stark's really taken it to the next level. Let's just face it, he's being a dick. Okay, he started drinking again, he's fighting with other superheroes, and he's uploaded this Extremis app to everybody's phone in San Francisco. And he's giving them sort of a free trial period. Now, when they upload this Extremis app, they get their physical appearance becomes much better for the next 24 hours. But then that goes away, and then everything after that, it's going to be $99 a day to purchase that Extremis app. Kind of an out there sort of storyline. But that's the sort of stuff that Stark's up to. He has confrontations with She-Hulk, Pepper Potts, and then ultimately Daredevil, and that one gets physical, and they have a big fight around Stark's compound in San Francisco, in which, well, I don't want to tell you, you can read that part for yourself. But I'll just say that this has been a lot of fun so far. I wasn't really looking forward to picking up this book. I don't know, something about it didn't really appeal to me, but I kind of got talked into it, and I'm glad I did. Tom Taylor is the writer on this one. Some of you may know him from his DC Comics work, including Earth 2. And let me tell you, he doesn't disappoint with this one. A lot of fun. And Yildiray Cinar, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is the artist on the book. Wasn't really as familiar with this person, but really cool stuff. Great line work, really clean. Some of the Daredevil shots reminded me of Joe Quesada's run back when he was on Daredevil with Kevin Smith many years ago. But this person just really seems to know what they're doing. So, really nice way to start off the storyline. Action-packed, and I can't wait to read more. So we're going to go ahead and give this one 4 out of 5 tapes. Next up, we have Justice League number 36 by Jeff Johns, who really doesn't need any introduction on the show, and Jason Fabok. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Jason Fabok, I suggest you go and pick up his Detective Comics run that he did with John Layman. The only reason I don't think that particular run got a little bit more publicity is because it was going on at the same time as Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder, what's become a historic run for them. Those 2 storylines were sort of those 2 creative teams were sort of going on at the same time. But I think Fabok is excellent. Got a style somewhere in between Jim Lee and David Finch. All his characters are just like big superheroes, everything's built and decked out, and some of the visuals in this book are awesome. It's also sort of got a creepy vibe. This book really focuses in on the Amazo virus. For those of you who don't know who or what Amazo is, that's this android that can sort of take on the powers or abilities of anybody he comes in contact with, including the Justice League. So you can see how that could be a big problem. This Amazo virus was held up, which was really, I don't know, sort of a replica of Amazo's powers, was held up in Lex Luthor's lab, which the villain Neutron drove his van through in the last issue of Justice League, unleashing this Amazo virus on the entire city of Metropolis. People are dying, they're infected, some people are developing weird powers out of nowhere. The Justice League or most of the Justice League is taken out of commission.
Yay!
It's really up to Superman and Batman, as usual, to go and try to figure out what's going on here, locate Patient Zero, so that they can sort of find a cure, try and find a cure for this thing. And it's cool. It's a cool kickoff to the story. I do think that it could have had a little bit more action, or I would have liked to see a little bit more action, especially for Jason Fabok's drawing style. I think it works better when you see people fighting each other and shit blowing up, as opposed to just big giant superheroes standing around and talking. And we got a lot of that, but this issue is sort of setting up future storylines to come, so I can't really complain about that too much. I guess that's just sort of a personal preference. I did enjoy it, but I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 out of 5 capes. I think it's a great kickoff to the story, but I want to see more before I rate it too highly, I guess. Alright, for our final 2 books, we're going to revisit some storylines that we talked about in the past here. And we'll start off with Spiderverse number 1. I gotta tell you, I was really disappointed in this book. I've been following this whole Edge of Spiderverse and now Spiderverse thing since it started, and at first I was really digging it. Now I'm really starting to find it repetitive. First of all, I'm not really digging the villains in this arc. It's Moreland and his brethren, who include Karn, who we saw more of in the Edge of the Spiderverse, their father, other brothers and sisters. It's just a whole group of them, and they just travel the universe or universes, feeding off of characters with spider-related abilities. That's basically what they literally eat, is Spider-Men or Spider-Women. And we've seen them do this from time and time again now. It's just, we meet a new Spider-Man that they introduce, a cyborg Spider-Man, a karate Spider-Man.
Karate Spider-Man.
And then the next thing you know, Moreland or one of his brothers and sisters comes popping into that universe and either feasts on this Spider-Man, or a group of Spider-Men and women who have gathered together to try to eventually take on Moreland and his brethren, pop up and grab this spider person and pull him into the next universe so they can sort of regroup. I don't know how many times I can see this happen, and we saw it happen about 6 more times in this new arc. I thought it was a little bit... It just wasn't what I was expecting. It didn't move the storyline along at all from Amazing Spider-Man number 9, which I think is really the kickoff point for this whole event, and that wasn't a bad book. It seemed like they were going to actually start going somewhere with this whole thing, but this didn't. And it was also $4.99, and to get a story that doesn't bring anything new to the story and just sort of repeating what we've seen over and over again, it just wasn't for me. Unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and give this one 2 out of 5 cakes. I probably could have gone lower here, but some of the individual arcs or storylines within the book aren't so bad, and the creative teams, it was kind of cool. Tom Grummett, for those of you who used to read Robin and Superboy back in the 90s, Tom Grummett did one of the storylines, and it's kind of cool to see these arcs weren't exactly bad themselves. It's just the overall thing is it's not going anywhere. Let's go somewhere, people. Come on, move this Superior Spider-Man or Spider-Man Spider-Verse story along now. Okay, so we saved the best for last here on this show tonight, and that best book is going to be Multiversity, Pax Americana. This is a book I've been waiting for about 2 years now, since I heard it was announced officially by DC Comics. Just to give you a quick breakdown, this is yet another tale from Grant Morrison's Multiversity series. And in this particular universe, we have Watchmen-style characters, only it's not the Watchmen, it's actually the characters that the Watchmen are based on, which some of you may know are from the old Charlton comic book universe. But the characters from Watchmen were really taken from the Charlton Comics characters. So therefore, Night Owl was really Blue Beetle. Dr. Manhattan is really Captain Atom. Rorschach is really the Question. And we see the latter of those characters, the original characters, I should say, here in this book. And it is awesome. Really, really a lot of fun from beginning to end. A lot to think about. In usual Morrison style, there's a lot of time jumps, and he does go a little bit all over this place, but I was able to follow it, which in some cases with Morrison, that doesn't happen. I'm one of those people who think Morrison can be very hit or miss, but I think so far with the Multiversity series, he's been hitting. And Frank Whitley's artwork is terrific. If you're a Frank Whitley fan, and especially if you like All-Star Superman, where these two were together on that book, you're going to love this book, I think. It takes a little while, maybe give it a second read, maybe really think about what you're reading here, but this is a must-read book. I got a funny feeling this one's going to be winning some Eisners at the end of the year. I'd also love to know what Alan Moore thinks of the book, the author of The Watchmen, because apparently him and Grant Morrison have a little bit of a feud going on from what I've heard, so I'd love to know what he thinks of this, because it's not a copy. He's not ripping off anything more does. It's really just sort of his own take on it. And everything from the page layouts to the characters and just the whole storyline. It's paying homage while doing its own thing. So we're going to go and give this one our first ever 5K rating. That's 5 out of 5. Good job, Multiversity. So that about does it for this episode. But let's keep this conversation going, people. Make sure to leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me, or just bash me personally. I really don't care. Just keep it going. All right, everybody. Till next time.
Conversation starts with
How
you
hard is it to like sit in a wheelchair?
and your mama.